Okay, now you should have all of your sound effects added to your project file along with the two voice tracks at the start. So there's your voice tracks at the start. And then there are each of the different sound effects you'll hear. Again, let me just show you something in case you're a little confused. I've added a new track. Let me just bring in, let me see, how about the explosion sound? Because I think there's lots of different sounds on that track. So let me go in and find the explosion sound. I just want to review this very briefly because most of your sound effects have more than one sound effect on the track. So sound effects, let me go to fire explosion sound. Okay, I've already added it up here, but I just want to show you what you're going to need to do. If you notice at the start, let me actually mute everything else except for this track. So I'm just going to mute all the other tracks. So all I'm hearing is this track down here, which has the explosion sound on it again. Okay, so I'm going to play it, and what do you notice? It starts with music, right? So you've probably figured this out, but you have to trim that back. Okay, now let's hear what's on this track. You can see there's sounds. Oh, there's nothing down here. Let's just trim that off, make it simple. We've got two sounds. Let's listen. There's one explosion sound. They sound similar. I like the second one better. So I'm going to go and I'm going to take my play bar. I'm going to select that clip. Command E to split it. I'm going to get rid of the first explosion soundtrack. So the first thing I did was got rid of the music by trimming it. Then I picked the sound effect that I actually wanted on the track and got rid of the other. Okay. And actually, look, it's the same waveform as the one I used up here. So I did pick the same one by chance. And then you just position it. Okay, you probably had to do that with all of the sound effects. Knife for sure, sound effects. I think all of them had more than one sound effect on the track. So you have to isolate the portion of the track that you want with just that one sound. Okay, I don't need this track now. I just wanted to review that quickly. I'm going to delete this track. There we go. Now, let's turn on all of the sound effects and the voices. The knives, we've already adjusted the volume. Let's listen to this portion with just the knives. Let me turn off actually the other sound effects.
I've got this. Hiya! Ah!
Okay, that works. And then
Blood!
blood. She yells blood. And then what happens after blood?
Get me a Band-Aid and
Let's turn this track on now. Okay, let's take a listen.
Blood!
get me a Band-Aid and check the bacon.
Fire!
You notice how the bacon just cuts out? The sound just ends abruptly. Let's drag it out a bit. Okay, let's continue. Let's extend that bacon sound.
Get me a Band-Aid and check the bacon.
Fire!
And about at the fire point, I could get that bacon sound to start fading out. So once I've adjusted the sound level, the audio level on the track using the volume control, up or down, then I can go in and look at this little, if I select the clip, look at that little node up here, that little circle. I can click on it and drag it, and I'm now fading that bacon sound rather than it just cutting out. So let me play it first. You'll hear it just cuts out.
Bacon.
Fire!
See how it just ends? Let's soften that a bit by just clicking. Again, you have to click the clip, drag that, and you see this little angle? That's telling me that we're fading this sound out gradually, okay? So at this point, it starts to fade all the way down to 0 down here. And the part that's shaded here, lighter shade, won't be heard. So now let's listen to how that bacon sounds. Does it fade out instead of cut out?
Band-Aid and check the bacon.
Fire!
Yeah, maybe I want to extend that fade a bit. Maybe I want to extend the clip a bit and have the whole thing a little bit more subtle. Let's see. So a longer fade, a longer clip.
Fire!
I'm thinking.
Good. So now it's not just cutting out. Maybe the clip's too long. I can shorten it. Okay? So that's how you fade out a sound, is you select the clip, you get the little nodule up here, the little node, and you can drag it to the left, and that does a fade out. Okay? The further you drag it, the longer it takes to fade out. So you don't want it to be too long. Okay? The shorter that little space is, the faster the fade. So let's fade it out sort of fast, but not too quick and way not too long. Okay, so what you're going to want to do then is let's mute that sound. Let's say that that one's good. Let's go next to the explosion sound. Let's see how that sounds with the voices.
Be a Band-Aid and check the bacon.
Fire!
I'm thinking.
Okay, first of all, I think it's too loud. Okay, it overpowers her voice. So the first thing I want to do in the explosion track is just go over to volume and bring it down a bit. Bring it down. See, it's going counterclockwise. Let's listen now.
And check the bacon.
Fire!
Yeah, I can hear it, but now it's not quite so loud that it's drowning out her voice up here. Okay, so I brought that sound level down.
And check the bacon.
Fire!
I'm thinking.
And why don't I fade it out too? Why not? Since we're here, I'm just going to fade it out. I'll do it a long fade like this. Longer fade.
Band-Aid and check the bacon.
Fire!
I'm thinking the bacon's done.
Nice. So rather than it cutting out, again, it fades out. Okay, let's check the fire alarm. Let's listen to it. I'm not going to do all of this, but let's listen and see how loud the fire alarm is compared to the voices. Okay, so I've got just the fire alarm. I'm listening to it. I can mute the knife. I'm not hearing them anyway because those sounds are way over here. Let's listen to the fire alarm compared to this voice up here. See, this voice is up here. This is underneath of it.
I'm thinking the bacon's done.
I think it's a little loud. Click on the fire alarm sound effect. Click on volume and bring it down a bit. Okay, you want to hear it.
I'm thinking the bacon's done.
Probably a little loud still. Bring it down a bit more.
Fire!
I'm thinking the bacon's done.
Ooh.
Okay, and then we get in the tagline. So I think definitely, perhaps this fire alarm's a little long. So let's just get 2 or 3 beeps. And then again, let's just fade it out a bit so it doesn't just abruptly end.
Fire!
I'm thinking the bacon's done.
Uber Eats. Fast food.
Okay, and as the fire alarm's going, so it's probably too long. Let's just bring a couple beats in. Then the fire extinguisher happens. Let's turn those two on together because they kind of work together. Let's listen to the fire extinguisher.
I'm thinking the bacon's done.
Uber Eats. Fast food.
Okay, that's definitely too loud. See how loud it is compared to her voice?
The bacon's done.
Uber Eats.
It's kind of like, what the heck is that? So let's go to the volume of the fire extinguisher now and bring it down quite a bit. And then you play it and listen.
I'm thinking the bacon's done.
Uber Eats.
Maybe I took it down too far. Bring it up a bit. There you go. And listen.
I'm thinking the bacon's done.
Uber Eats. Fast food without the accidents.
Good. So there we go. Let's fade out the fire extinguisher too. Okay, rather than have it cut out.
I'm thinking the bacon's done.
Uber Eats. Fast food without the
Good. Maybe a bit loud still, so let me bring it back down a bit. Click and drag down a bit. There. Play it.
Thinking the bacon's done.
Uber Eats. Fast food without the
Good. And I think I can fade the fire alarm a little bit sooner.
I'm thinking the bacon's done.
Okay, it's fading too fast actually, so why don't I just gently make this fade of the fire alarm a little longer.
Fire!
I'm thinking the bacon's done.
Why don't I extend it now? Okay, so why don't I extend the fire alarm, but put a longer fade on it. So we hear it, but it starts to disappear. Let's listen.
Fire!
I'm thinking the bacon's
And
done.
fade.
Uber Eats.
Okay, so this sound fire alarm starts to fade out. It's a long fade, longer fade, and then you hear the fire extinguisher, and then it fades out. Maybe make it a longer fade. So there you have it. Now what you've done is called audio mixing. You've mixed 2 voices together, and then you've mixed 6 different tracks of sound effects together with them. And by adjusting their levels and fading them up or down, depending on whatever it is, you're actually mixing audio at this point. You're mixing audio. And the key is that the voices have to stand out for sure, but you still have to be able to hear those sound effects. So the sound effects are complementing the voices, not competing. Let's listen to the whole radio commercial where the sound effects happen, right in here. Turn them all on. Hit spacebar.
Uber Eats? I've got this. Hiya! Ah!
Blood!
Get me a Band-Aid and check the bacon.
Fire!
I'm thinking the bacon's done.
Uber Eats. Fast food without the...
I think that's really good. I mean, that's just my opinion, but that sounds pretty natural to me, and I can hear the individual sounds as they're coming in. They're coming in at the right time, which is important. They're coming in at the right volume, which is important, and they're not just cutting off at the end, they're fading out, each of them. So do this now. Go and adjust your sound effects audio levels using the little volume controls. You slide up to increase the sound level. You slide down to decrease the sound level on that track. Okay, that's why we put everything on its own track. So I'm only adjusting the sound level on this fire alarm on this track if I go over here. Okay, so do that, mix your audio, get it sounding good, get the timing of the sound effects right, and then you're just going to have to add the music at the end, and you're done.